Hello, my friends. Yeah, it's been a while since I last talked to you, like in this usual spot that you already recognize. It's been a while since I last told you a story, a true crime story, or whatever story, or reacted to Norway related news. Yeah, and today it's gonna be all that in one. It's gonna be reacting to the latest news. It's gonna be sort of a crime story. So I hope you are comfortable in your seats because we are discussing some serious stuff about Norway here. Norway actually, in my opinion, has some problems with animal protection, and I'm gonna elaborate right now. Norway is very environment-friendly country, and I am proud and happy to see that every day. Norway was one of the first countries where people seriously started to deal with environment and ecological problems in the world. In fact, in 1972, they created a Ministry of Climate and Environment. Here, everyone cares about utilization of waste and protecting nature. In 1992, in Norwegian constitution, they added an article. In simple words, it's stating that each Norwegian citizen has the right to the environment that maintains their health, thus implying that we create the environment that defines our health. So take care of your environment and you'll be healthy, and you are entitled to be healthy in a healthy environment. Here in Norway, they seriously take care of woods. So they actually have this, I think it is a law or a rule that if a company cuts out a wood on the space that they have left behind with the cutout woods, they are supposed to plant new trees, which in my opinion is simply amazing initiative. Norwegians are so nature environment friendly people, and the authorities are really thinking about that. But what about animal welfare? What about that? Because we all know that there is flora and then there is fauna. Flora is just blossoming here, but fauna, let me just tell you some disturbing facts. In Norway, it is allowed to hunt endangered animals. Yeah, for real. If you are a newcomer on my channel, I have a video where I'm actually ranting about shooting wolves that are endangered species in Norway. They're actually literally dying out. So the hunters are allowed on certain periods to have quotas to hunt those endangered animals, and they are allowed to come into protected areas that are simply made for the endangered animals to live and for them to be left alone to mate and, grow the population. They have quotas. They can go in those areas and hunt out certain amount of these endangered animals. And that's not just wolves. It's also some other species. And some of them are a problem for the whole world because Norwegians are among the countries, the rare countries that can hunt whales. Yes, you heard me correct. Every year, whales are being killed according to quotas that had been set out by the same directorate that decided to euthanize Freya the walrus. And they still continue to kill those whales despite the fact that globally so many institutions and organizations have been trying to convince Norwegian authorities to stop these whale killings. We all know how much good whales are doing for the environment, for the ecosystem, for all of us. And now I'm here to discuss a thing that actually happened this week, just recently, a couple of days ago when I'm recording this video, and I can easily call it a crime towards an animal. I know that there will be people who will not agree with me. However, I am aware that the majority will agree with me, and I think that Norwegian authorities made a mistake when deciding that this walrus called Freya should be killed. I wasn't actually aware of this story. I wasn't aware about this walrus that has become a celebrity in Norway. obviously because I was busy and I wasn't reading so much news. But then I saw that many people were making a fuss about the fact that Freya är död, which means Freya is dead. And there was a picture of a walrus by the title, so I thought I should read it. I read it. I was like simply devastated and I was sad, so I thought I should make a video about it. And you all know how much I love animals. To be honest, I love them more than humans. So I simply have to make this video and I simply have to know your opinion. So do not hesitate to write down what you are thinking in the comment section, and let's just dive into the story. So the walrus, the female walrus that was later on named after a Norse goddess Freya, actually started to appear on people's radars along the coasts of Western European countries. So she was spotted in the Netherlands, Germany, UK, Scandinavian countries. As I mentioned before stopping by Norway, she already made headlines. For example, in the Netherlands, she was spotted on resting on a Dutch submarine, and she became famous because she was the first walrus who visited the Netherlands in the last 23 years. So it was something unique, so people paid attention to that. It was a special case. Walruses do not usually swim so close to the coast. They are usually hanging out in the Arctic waters. So after the Netherlands, she was spotted in December 2021, and she was relaxing on a salmon farm cage on one of the Scotland's islands called Shetland. And after that, she was spotted, as I said, in many other countries like Germany, Scandinavian countries. So she was slowly becoming a celebrity. I know you might be asking, why do people were so sure that that was the same walrus in each of these countries resting in these random places? Well, the thing is that Freya had some distinctive traits. For example, she had a pink spot on her nose, like a beauty mark. She had short tusks, and she also had an injury on one of her flippers. Unfortunately, in summer of 2022, Freya decides to rest on the coasts of Norway, more specifically on the Oslo fjord. And that was a mistake. But, you know, we all know that Norway is always about being sustainable, caring about environment. So you might think that a walrus must be safe there. Well, this story shows completely different thing. And in my opinion, there are some problems in animal protection in Norway. But that's my opinion. Don't come after me. This story will show you a lot of things that, in my opinion, also show that there are problems. And so, as I said, Freya swam into the waters of Oslo fjord, and she became famous because she casually liked to chill out on the coast, on the port. And unfortunately, she was also liking to rest on boats. So she was trying to get on these boats and accidentally drown them. And of course, people were not satisfied with that. And Freya was a corpulent lady. She was weighing around 600 kilograms and she was enormous, but she wasn't feisty. She wasn't like attacking anyone on purpose. She wasn't bad. She was just an animal resting in the sun, casually swimming in the Oslo fjord waters. And I believe that, of course, the people whose boats were sunk by Freya were pissed off, to be honest. And yes, I believe that in situations when there is human versus animal, who is just simply a living creature that is part of nature and does not understand the rules of humans, money is always the one that wins and nobody cares about the animal. Just a side note, I read an article, like some reports, that insurance companies said that after Freya appeared, people started actually to buy more insurances for their boats. We all understand that just chilling on Oslo fjord, on the coast of Oslo, is not the usual habitat for a walrus who usually swims in Arctic waters. And people got curious. In fact, the curiosity grew with every day. People started to come in crowds to make selfies, to photograph, to film Freya, and obviously this wasn't a place for a walrus to be. And Like some people even said that she became stressed, although there were no obvious signs of her being stressed. She kind of even ignored the people. She was just chilling out there, you know. But we also have to remember that a walrus is a wild animal. It's not a zoo. It's not trained. It just came there to rest. And in situations like that, when people get so invasive in a wild animal's territory, we cannot predict how the animal is going to react. And therefore, the animal can become dangerous to humans who literally are coming into her space, like personal space, and taking selfies just to post on Insta or whatever other social media they're using. And again, in those cases, in most cases, when animal just shows her natural reaction, her reaction of a wild animal, which is that animal wants to protect herself because maybe it's scared. Usually human is portrayed as the victim, not the animal. But in fact, the human being is the one who is just tricking the animal to have this reaction, you know? And of course, the authorities saw what was happening. Like literally, there were reports that parents with small kids were approaching very close to the walrus just to make pictures and videos. That was really endangering for both sides, both humans and the walrus. So the authorities tried to warn people not to approach the walrus, leave her alone, let her rest, and yeah, that was the moment when the authorities started actually to interact with the situation. And so people started to massively discuss the newly occurred problem with the walrus, Freya. And bear in mind, from what I have read, like the authorities looked at Freya as a problem, not people being the problem who actually didn't listen to leave her alone there, because most probably she's just gonna swim away one day. The case of Freya was given to a Norwegian government authority called Fiskedirektoratet. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. So it can literally be translated as Fisheries and Coastal Affairs Directorate of Ministry or something. I beg your pardon if I'm translating it improperly. I'm gonna call it like directorate for your further reference. I believe that people who work in this kind of organization, authority, should be experts in fisheries and anything happening in the sea. So even in like unusual situations like this, when there's a walrus, that is considered a problem. And so the Fisheries Directorate, they started to discuss the options, what to do with this walrus, and they came up with an idea that Freya should be euthanized. And they did it. They actually euthanized the walrus. Norway's Fisheries Directorate said that the walrus was euthanized, I quote, based on overall assessment of the threat to human safety, after the public ignored all of the warnings not to get close to her with small children, to take photographs and videos. They also concluded that, I quote, possibility for potential harm to people was high and animal welfare was not being maintained. So they stated that the walrus was stressed out from the presence of people. The director of this fisheries or fishing directorate also added that among other solutions, they also discussed the option of relocation of this walrus, which literally sounds legit, and that would be the thing that they should be really looking into. But then they somehow concluded that it will not be effective, since they also believe that it will not guarantee the safety of Freya at all. Can you please elaborate with this? Because I believe that it definitely will help Freya with feeling more safe if you are so concerned about her safety. Because if you relocate her, let's say somewhere closer to Svalbard, where it's like Arctic waters and where the usual walruses are swimming, that's her habitat. There are no people who will disturb her, so that's her safety. But the directorate had a real reply to this, what I was just saying. they held a discussion with the Norwegian Institute of Marine Research, and ultimately they decided that it was too dangerous to move her and it will endanger her life. I mean, if you have to choose between just simply getting rid of the walrus and at least trying to relocate, you're at least tried, you know what I mean? Or maybe I just have to ask another questions here. Were you too lazy to organize the relocation? Was it too much of a fuss? I mean, I do understand that just euthanizing is a lot easier. Was it a problem with money? I don't believe that, because Norway, I believe they have quite a lot of money. It's been worse like lately, like during the last years. Of course, the whole world is suffering, but I mean, seriously? Yeah, I'm just gonna leave those questions here. Directorate also said, I read somewhere, I quote, there have been too many dangerous situations. And they also added that they understood that this decision to euthanize the walrus will cause reactions with the public. However, I quote, I am firm that this was the right call. We have great regard for animal welfare, but human life and safety must take precedence. That was what I said before. If you have a human versus animal, although animal is not the guilty one here, human always wins. And so on August 14, 2022, which is the week when I'm filming this video, the directorate announced that they have decided that they're gonna euthanize Freya the walrus. And it was done. Just like that. Of course, people were pissed off. Like, my social media page was full of like angry posts that this was the wrong decision. Siri Martinsen, who is from the animal rights organization in Norway called NOAH, I have also touched upon this organization in one of my oldest videos where I was talking about famous animals of Norway. Do check those videos out. She actually put forward the idea that immediately popped into my mind. She said that authorities should have introduced some kind of fines for the people who were not listening when they were told not to come close to the walrus. If you just charge some money from a couple of people, like really high sums of money, it will just serve as a good lesson for the other people. And I believe it would reduce drastically the amount of people actually coming and approaching the walrus, because who wants to pay large sums of money because of walrus? Rune, I hope I pronounced your surname correctly, I beg your pardon, told the Norwegian news agency, I quote, that it was infinitely sad and animal had been put down simply because we did not behave properly with it. And Christian Steele of the environmental group Sabima, which is a council for biodiversity in Norway, said and wanted the names of the people who signed this decision that the walrus should be euthanized. He said that those names should be published for the public so that people know who were the people who decided to do this. The directorate cannot keep this a secret just to make things convenient for itself. They have a reason for it. There must have been professionals in the picture who have made an assessment that this animal was stressed. And the criticism for this was huge. Like even Eivind Tredal, a member of Oslo City Council, said that this decision to put Freya down was a collective failure. I quoted that. And Truls Gulovsen of the Nature Conservation Association called the decision, I quote, embarrassing. And he continued that, I quote, people behave like idiots faced with nature. Elsewhere, authorities managed to keep them away and people managed to show consideration. But here in Oslo Fjord, no one can be bothered, so we kill instead. But there were people who actually justified this euthanization decision. For example, a zoologist, Per Espen Fjeld, on a Norwegian magazine said that it was, I quote, obvious that Freya would have been put down eventually. And he added that the decision was entirely justifiable and had no consequences for the future of the species. It's like a very diplomatic way of justifying this decision, in my opinion. Espen Fjeld also said that animals could be dangerous and that sometimes it is really necessary to put them down. And he said that this killing of Freya did not endanger the population of walruses. And I quote, there are 30,000 walruses in the North Atlantic. And I guess that's supposed to be as an argument in favor of the euthanization decision. And again, just to put this point of view in our lives, it would be the same as saying, you know, there are millions of people on planet Earth, and if just one or two dies, who cares, you know? Biologist of one university of Norway said that she was tracking Freya's movement, you know, like when she was traveling Germany, UK, and everywhere. And she noticed her tendency to leave the place and move on to another place. And therefore, she said, I quote, the decision was too hasty. And I quote, Freya had sooner or later gotten out of the Oslo fjord. That was what I was saying. I mean, people just lost their patience. I mean, she was in so many places, nothing happened. And I am quite sure that after a while, she must just get bored and leave the Oslo fjord. Yeah, so in short, that's the story of Freya. Maybe I wouldn't boil in such an anger towards this case if it was just like one case, you know, like, okay, people make mistakes, governments do make mistakes, and who are we to judge, you know? And of course, there are situations when we just have to accept things. I love Norway, totally love it, but this story just like broke my heart. And there is another story similar to Freya's story. Do you want to hear it? It's regarding a swan that actually also ended up very sad, and there are a lot of things to discuss. So I believe I will also maybe share that one day. So I just wanted to share this story. Let me know your opinion on this. Was it okay to end Freya's life like that? Do you also believe that relocation or a little bit of patience and waiting for her to go away would be the solution? And also putting the fines on people who do not listen to authorities and not to approach her? That would save the situation a lot better. But, you know, maybe you have other opinions. So yeah, just if you have a pet, just go and hug that mouse, hug that dog or cat you have. They are worth it because they love us unconditionally. That being said, apart from that, I hope you have a lovely day. I hope you have subscribed to my channel, press the notification bell, blah, 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 you know the drill. And have a nice day. Do appreciate me with your likes. I mean, I tried. I even did my hair and makeup to look more beautiful. I know you might be like pissed off of seeing me without makeup. Okay, jokes aside, this was a serious video, serious topic. Have a good day. See you next time.